cold winter night, just days before Christmas, a family's world was shattered beyond repair. A crib, once filled with the warmth of a sleeping toddler, now stood hauntingly empty. How does a 20-month-old child simply vanish from her own home? And why would her father wait nearly 12 hours to report her missing? The disappearance of Isla Reynolds isn't just another missing child case. It's a mystery that has tormented investigators, divided a family, and broken the hearts of an entire community for over a decade. The evidence found would send shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned detectives, traces of blood, more blood than a small child could lose and still survive. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most disturbing unsolved cases, where holiday joy transformed into unimaginable horror. A case where justice remains elusive, and where a mother still searches desperately for answers about what happened to her beautiful blue-eyed daughter. Welcome to Disturbing True Crime Stories, where we uncover the darkest chapters of human behavior. If this is your first time here, I want to personally thank you for joining our community of truth seekers. Your support means everything to us. Please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss an episode as we continue to shine light on cases that deserve attention. Isla Belle Reynolds was born in April 2010, a beautiful baby girl with striking blue eyes and blonde hair that framed her always smiling face. Her mother, Trista Reynolds, described her as a princess who loved to dance and had just learned to say, "I love you." Despite being only 20 months old, Isla had already developed a vibrant personality, energetic, curious, and remarkably affectionate for such a young child. Trista and Isla's father, Justin DiPietro, were no longer in a relationship when the tragedy occurred. Their romance had been tumultuous, marked by frequent arguments and periods of separation. In the months before Isla's disappearance, Trista had been struggling with personal issues and temporarily placed Isla in the care of her sister while she sought help. During this vulnerable period, Justin DiPietro, who had shown little interest in parenting prior, suddenly filed for custody of Isla. In October 2011, just 2 months before the disappearance, he brought Isla to live with him in Waterville, Maine, in a home owned by his mother, Phoebe DiPietro. Those who knew Justin described him as a complicated figure, charming at times, but with a quick temper. He worked sporadically at various jobs but never seemed to maintain stable employment. Friends noted that he seemed ill-prepared for the responsibilities of fatherhood, often appearing overwhelmed by Isla's needs and care. Alarmingly, in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Isla had suffered several suspicious injuries while in her father's care. There was a pulled arm, facial bruising, and a fall that resulted in a 911 call. Each time, Justin provided explanations that raised eyebrows but weren't quite enough to trigger immediate intervention. By December 2011, the household on Violet Avenue in Waterville included Justin, his mother Phoebe, though she wasn't home the night of the disappearance, his girlfriend Courtney Roberts, and Courtney's young son. Justin's sister Alicia and her young daughter were also staying there during that fateful weekend. This crowded home would become the center of one of Maine's most baffling mysteries, as relationships between all involved would be scrutinized under the harsh spotlight of a criminal investigation that would reveal troubling secrets and devastating lies. December 16, 2011. Waterville, Maine. The small, working-class town was blanketed in winter's chill as residents prepared for the upcoming Christmas holiday. Inside the home at 29, Violet Avenue, according to Justin DiPietro's later statement, Isla was put to bed around 8 p.m., wearing green polka dot pajamas and with her left arm in a soft cast from a recent injury. The modest single-story house was unusually full that night. Justin's girlfriend Courtney Roberts was there with her young son. Justin's sister Alicia DiPietro was visiting with her daughter. Justin's mother, who owned the home, was away for the evening. 5 adults and 3 children under one roof, yet somehow, no one would hear or see anything unusual throughout the night. Justin would later tell investigators that he checked on Isla around 10 p.m. before going to bed himself. The next morning, December 17th, he claims he entered Isla's room shortly after 8 a.m. to find her bed empty, her blankets pulled back. The crib where his daughter should have been sleeping was vacant. The 20-month-old child had vanished. Crucially, Justin didn't immediately call 911. Investigators would later determine that approximately 8 to 12 hours passed between when Isla was last seen and when authorities were notified. The call to police wasn't made until 8:51 a.m., and when officers arrived at the Violet Avenue home, they noted something strange. The adults in the house seemed oddly composed for people whose child had just disappeared. The initial search began immediately. Police officers, volunteers, and search dogs combed the neighborhood while dive teams investigated nearby bodies of water. The FBI quickly joined local authorities, bringing additional resources and expertise. The community rallied, with hundreds of residents joining the search efforts despite the bitter December cold. But as investigators began processing the DiPietro home, disturbing evidence emerged. In Isla's bedroom, in the adjacent bathroom, in the basement, and on items belonging to Justin DiPietro, blood. Not just traces, but significant amounts of blood that forensic experts would later confirm belonged to Isla Reynolds. The most chilling discovery came from luminol testing in the basement, blood evidence invisible to the naked eye but revealed through forensic techniques. According to state police, they found more of Isla's blood than a toddler could lose and still survive. This grim revelation transformed the case from a missing person investigation to something far more sinister. Also troubling were inconsistencies in the statements provided by the three adults who were in the home that night. Their accounts of the evening's events and the morning's discovery didn't align. Cell phone records showed unusual activity during the overnight hours. And perhaps most damning, investigators determined the house showed no signs of a break-in, leading to the inescapable conclusion, whatever happened to Isla Reynolds occurred inside that home, at the hands of someone she knew and trusted. But what exactly transpired in those dark hours before dawn? Why would anyone want to harm an innocent child? And where was Isla's small body hidden? These questions would haunt investigators and the community for years to come. If you're as invested in uncovering the truth about Isla as I am, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring attention to cases like Isla's that deserve justice. After watching this video, I'd love to know, do you think authorities handled the initial investigation properly? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you, truly, for helping us keep Isla's memory alive through your continued support. As the search for Isla Reynolds intensified, the investigation quickly began to reveal troubling inconsistencies. Maine State Police, working alongside the FBI and local authorities, conducted extensive interviews with the three adults present in the house that night, Justin DiPietro, his girlfriend Courtney Roberts, and his sister Alicia DiPietro. From the beginning, investigators were troubled by the delayed reporting of Isla's disappearance. Forensic analysis of the home painted a disturbing picture that contradicted the adults' accounts. Lead Detective Jeff Love would later state that the three individuals inside the home that night knew more than they were sharing, a sentiment echoed by every law enforcement official associated with the case. The evidence collected from the Violet Avenue home was substantial and damning. Crime scene technicians discovered Isla's blood in multiple locations throughout the house. Most significantly, they found her blood on Justin's shoes, on a fan in the basement, and on a mattress and sheets. Some blood droplets were mixed with saliva, suggesting traumatic injury rather than a simple cut or nosebleed. Another crucial piece of evidence was Justin's own cell phone activity. Records showed unusual late-night and early morning usage inconsistent with someone who claimed to be sleeping. Additionally, investigators discovered that just days before Isla's disappearance, Justin had taken out a life insurance policy on his daughter, a fact that raised serious red flags given his previously demonstrated lack of interest in her well-being. As the investigation progressed, authorities made a rare public statement that would shock the community. On January 28, 2012, just 6 weeks after Isla vanished, Maine State Police announced they no longer believed Isla was alive, and they no longer believed she had been abducted by a stranger. The evidence, they stated firmly, indicated that foul play was involved in her disappearance. The search expanded to cover more than 800 square miles. Divers repeatedly checked local waterways, including the Kennebec River and nearby streams. Cadaver dogs were brought in from across the country. But despite one of the largest and most extensive searches in Maine's history, Isla's body was never found. By May 2012, the costs of the investigation had surpassed $500,000, and in a critical turning point, investigators publicly named the 3 adults in the home that night as persons of interest. They specifically stated that the adults were not being truthful and that someone inside that house is responsible for Isla's disappearance. Yet despite the blood evidence, the inconsistent statements, and the circumstantial case building against them, no arrests were made. The district attorney's office maintained that without Isla's body, they couldn't build a strong enough case to ensure conviction. This legal hurdle would prove to be a devastating obstacle in the pursuit of justice for the little girl with the bright blue eyes. Though no criminal charges have ever been filed in Isla's disappearance, the investigation increasingly focused on Justin DiPietro. His behavior both before and after his daughter vanished raised serious questions about his involvement and character. In the weeks leading up to Isla's disappearance, Justin's care for his daughter came under scrutiny. Isla suffered a broken arm in November 2011, which Justin claimed happened when he fell on her while holding her. She also had bruises on her legs and abdomen that were photographed by her concerned mother during visits. These injuries, while individually explained away, created a troubling pattern when viewed collectively. After Isla vanished, Justin's actions perplexed both the public and investigators. He made few public appearances, declined most interview requests, and seemed strangely detached from the search efforts. When he did speak publicly, his demeanor struck many as inappropriate, lacking the desperation and grief expected from a father whose child is missing. Court documents later revealed that Justin told investigators conflicting stories about his activities the night Isla disappeared. Cell phone records showed he sent text messages during hours he claimed to be asleep. Additionally, investigators discovered he had conducted suspicious internet searches in the days before Isla vanished. Perhaps most damning was Justin's refusal to engage with Trista Reynolds, Isla's mother, as she desperately sought answers about their daughter. While Trista gave frequent emotional interviews pleading for information, Justin remained largely silent. He never joined in vigils or participated meaningfully in raising awareness about Isla's case. In 2013, authorities took the unprecedented step of announcing publicly that they believed Isla was dead and that the 3 adults in the home that night knew what happened. Police spokesman Steve McCausland stated unequivocally, "We believe they have not told us everything they know." Justin eventually left Maine, moving to California where he has largely avoided public scrutiny. He has never been charged criminally, but in 2018, a judge declared Isla legally dead, and in 2019, her mother Trista Reynolds won a wrongful death lawsuit against him when he failed to appear in court. The judge awarded $2 million in damages after finding that Justin was responsible for Isla's death. The judgment, while providing some measure of legal acknowledgement, brought neither closure nor criminal accountability. Justin has never paid the damages, and despite being found responsible in civil court, he continues to live his life as a free man, a reality that continues to torment Isla's family and the investigators who remain haunted by this case. The disappearance of Isla Reynolds left permanent scars on all those connected to the case. For Trista Reynolds, Isla's mother, life became an endless pursuit of justice for her daughter. Year after year, she has held vigils, given interviews, and pleaded with authorities to make an arrest. Though she won her civil case against Justin DiPietro, the victory was hollow without criminal charges or the recovery of Isla's remains. The investigators who worked the case have expressed ongoing frustration with the lack of resolution. Many have retired still carrying the burden of this unsolved mystery. State Police Lieutenant Jeffrey Love, who led the investigation, has stated that Isla's case remains actively open and is never far from our minds. For the community of Waterville, the case fundamentally altered their sense of security and innocence. Christmas, once a time of joy, now carries the shadow of Isla's disappearance for many residents. Annual remembrances of Isla have become a somber tradition in the small Maine town. The case also prompted changes in how Maine handles reports of child abuse and neglect. After revelations about Isla's injuries prior to her disappearance, reforms were implemented to improve communication between medical providers and child protective services. Yet despite these changes, the most important outcome remains elusive: justice for Isla. Her story has become a painful reminder of how difficult it can be to prosecute cases without a body, even when substantial circumstantial evidence exists. For those who loved her, for the officers who searched for her, and for a community that mourned her, Isla Reynolds remains forever the beautiful blue-eyed toddler who deserved so much more than the tragic fate that befell her. This haunting case reminds us why our work at Disturbing True Crime Stories is so important. Children like Isla deserve to have their stories told, their cases remembered, and justice pursued no matter how many years pass. I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your unwavering support of this channel. Your engagement helps us continue shining light on cases that might otherwise fade from public memory. If you found Isla's story as heartbreaking as I did, please take a moment to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Your support allows us to continue advocating for victims who can no longer speak for themselves. For those of you who want to learn more about similar cases, I recommend checking out our video on the of another disturbing child disappearance, which you'll see on your screen now. The similarities between these two cases are both striking and disturbing. Before you go, I'd like to know, do you believe justice will ever be served in Isla's case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay vigilant and remember, behind every case we cover is a real person whose life mattered.